I'm Andy Kushner, and this is The Music Makers. Today's episode was recorded in 2018. Toni Mengage grew up in the projects, and at 14 got her first record deal and had a hit song. Then at 15, she was produced by Stevie Wonder, and at 17, joined Lisa and the Cult Jam. Toni's story is absolutely breathtaking. She is so real. She tells it like it is. Her story of personal growth, the struggles, the successes, the bends in the road, everything that she has been through. And decades later, she is still doing it and killing it out there. And she is grateful. This is a great story. So be sure to focus and listen in. Toni, it has been such a ride. I remember I was thinking back to when we first met, and it was that gig. Remember Freedom had introduced you to me, and it was some corporate gig somewhere. I don't know if it was New York or something like that with Sound Connection. Yeah. And you showed up, and it's just, that was like the beginning. You remember that gig?
It's a long time ago.
Long ass time ago.
I want to say somewhere around 2005.
Well, do you know why? Because then we did Bellagio's New Year's,
right? And
that was December 31st, 2005. So we probably met some months before that.
Some months before that.
And that gig was the bomb.
That gig was so the bomb. I don't think I've had a gig that like amazing in the wedding corporate sector yet.
Although that was their High Roller New Year's, but it was, I remember bringing you on because, I mean, the band was really good and tight and everything, but to pull off something like that, a major show, I know I needed basically some badass talent to come in, and that's why you came. That's why I brought you in.
It was the bells and whistles.
Thank you. And you came up with that arrangement, ironically, with Prince gone, of Kiss going into Nasty Girl, and with you singing, and that was tight. So. And then I'm trying to think, we did several gigs together. There was a great one, I think in Sarasota, but also, I came to see you with Matt Buckman, from I Do Films to do this little documentary thing at the Groove, little small club, The Groove. And you're not playing there anymore.
No, I was there off and on for about 15 years.
You were like the house band, basically.
Every Friday night.
But the thing is, Toni, I'm not just stroking your ego here. We could not believe how you connected with the crowd. Like, it wasn't just having a badass rhythm section and background singers and you delivering the songs, but you had the crowd. Like, I mean, I don't even always see that at a quote unquote celebrity concert, a national act. And so you've got such it's just, I want to know the whole story. Like, what is in your history that led up to all of these talents and skills that you've honed, and I know you got some, really interesting stories in the music business. I'm wondering, how did all this start for you? Like, I know about, you had some hit songs at the age of 14. Weren't you was it called?
Little Toni Marsh.
Little Toni Marsh.
Signed to Prism Records.
Yes. And I don't want to reveal yet this outrageous certain artist that produced you, which I'm dying to hear the details about, because this certain artist is like my main influence in music. Okay. Oh, yeah. So we got to get there. But I know you had a pretty tough upbringing. Where were you born?
I'm from Harlem originally. I grew up in the housing projects on the east side of East Harlem. And
what is that like? I mean, for someone like me who don't know that, like I hear that in the news and stuff. What can you tell me more about that? What does that really mean?
I mean, I came from a family that was quite large, and my grandmother was really my mom.
She's who raised you?
She's who raised me. My mom, my biological mom, had me at 13.
Wow.
So,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and I thought that my mother was my sister for most of my childhood. Yeah.
Everyone was in, even everyone was in on this.
Everyone except me.
Until when?
Until I was about 13 or 14.
How did you find out?
I found out in an argument with someone who I thought was my sister, who was actually my aunt. And it was revealed then,
Just in the heat of the moment, you mean?
Yeah, it did, it was just some ugly things said and it came out. And so as a result, I went through some things as a teenager. Music was the one thing that kind of kept me on the straight and narrow, because my life could have went either way, where I was growing up and the environment I was in, and it could have gone either way. Mm-hmm. I was on, I would fight all the time. I was always getting in shit, but music was the one positive that kept me. There would be talent searches in the area, talent shows. I'd join in. I went to a music elementary school, music junior high school, went to East Harlem Performing Arts.
But wait a minute. What was the first moment of you discovering music was a passion?
It was in my family. My aunts used to sing. And so I was always interested in it. When everybody else was running around in the summertime outside, I was in front of the radio with the brush singing in front of the mirror, Yeah. And like literally that's what I was doing. I was learning every song on the radio.
Who were you into, or just
Shaka
anything?
Khan.
Oh, okay.
Rufus, Shaka Khan.
Oh, yeah. So we're talking 70s, 80s?
Yeah, 70s.
And so how did it first manifest? I mean, in terms of you singing, I don't know, in public or in school, where did that? Well,
I went to East Harlem Performing Arts, and that was middle school. And while I was there, they had that's what's missing from the school systems now. That's what kept me out of trouble. I was interested in school because of it.
Yeah.
I went because of it. Everyone else would be cutting. I was in school because I wanted the music programs. Mm-hmm. And there happened to be a producer coming around looking for.
And what age are you at this point?
I'm 14.
I just want to follow along. And you're what, 8th grade?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, about that.
Or 9th. Okay.
No, I'm in middle school, so it's not 9th. It's either 7th or 8th.
Wow. And a producer, what was that? Came to the school?
Mark Liggett, producer, came through the schools looking for a vocalist to record.
What? At that age?
Record, yeah. And one of my teachers recommended. They were like, "There's this kid, Toni. She's a little tough, but she can sing." And it changed my life.
And how did that go? So what was the first step?
He talked to me a little bit. He let me hear a record. He was like, "Do you think you could pull this off?" I was like, "Sure." And it was one of the first songs in the 80s to have a rap in it for a young female.
Is this Video Burnout?
Video Burnout.
See, I did a little bit. I usually don't do research. I did a little bit.
Video Burnout, 1983.
And this is your first experience in the studio and everything.
Yeah.
How involved was he in producing you? Like
totally. And it was the old school way of producing. Like today, you can cut and paste. Back then, you had to sing all your backgrounds live. You had to double live. You had to do all your hooks live.
Wow.
So I came up in a good time where, the recordings were the real deal. You had to know how to sing.
Which really tightened up your skills and technique as opposed to how so much can be done now digitally.
Sure. All you got to do is cut and paste now.
I mean, you could even change the, if you're out of tune, you could even fix that now digitally.
Sure.
So, okay, so you learned the old school way.
I learned the old school way.
And what happened? What was it like the first time you heard it on the radio?
I was in the projects, which is crazy. And so, it's funny because people think when you have a record out, you have all this money.
Right.
It's just not the case.
Oh, so you became instantly popular.
I was popular instantly. And imagine that
and
in
at
the
that
8th
age,
grade.
Yeah.
So, I'm at home and it comes on the radio, it comes on WBLS and a popular New York R&B station, and it's on and my friends are like knocking on the door. You're on the radio.
Now, did this give you some were you picked on more, less, or, did people want to think you had money to steal from you?
It was balanced out because growing up in the projects, you had, there was a lot of people that were really happy for me. Like all of a sudden I had friends. I inherited friends.
Of course.
That normally weren't my friends.
You had an entourage.
But there was a few haters. There were a few people that were like, "Oh, you think you're all that? You think But I don't think I was always different. I didn't really absorb that energy. I was always trying to. The thing about me growing up in the projects, I was always trying to get out. I was finding my way outside all the time.
Yeah,
I didn't hang out in the neighborhood like that.
So what kind of things would you do?
I explored very young. I got on the subway young.
Yeah.
I found the Village very young. The West Village, which basically became my second home.
Wow.
After, singing down here 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Pretty much every day.
Even at that age, you mean like getting into the clubs at night and stuff like that? How did you get in at such a young age?
I just did. I found the music.
That was probably child's play for you.
They had what you called the kind of the Chitlin circuit.
Yeah.
The bars, so they were like the Celebrity Club, the Lady Eye, the Mark IV. These were old school bars where the bands were, and I found them.
What would you do there? Sing or just listen?
I'd go hang out. I'd order a drink.
Come on, like at 14,
I'd jump up and sing. Yeah. I got to know the bands.
Did the crowds get into you right away?
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess you're a young kid and you're so passionate. And
I was young, but you put on a little makeup, you put on little heels on.
Yeah. You already knew something about just entertaining.
Yeah.
Like putting on a show.
I knew I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so I'd go out and watch and just get up behind that mic.
Did you have some kind of look and a whole thing going on?
Yeah,
I would love to see pictures.
Cute.
Of this.
I got a little long hair and the heels. It worked out. I sold it.
Yeah. No, I'm sure you did.
I sold it.
So all right. So you have like one or two hits. Did you have a second one too?
So from there, I moved to the West Coast for like a year. One of my aunts managed my career at that point. And she connected me to Stevie Wonder's brother, who in turn introduced me to Stevie. And
hold on, I need a moment. Okay, now tell me, please, what was that? See, I can't even speak. So what happened? You were brought in to meet him first in person, or what?
I was probably like 15 years old.
Now, were you aware of Stevie?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up listening to the heavy hitters. So, I grew up on the Shaka Khans and the Marvin Gayes and the Stevie Wonders and the Tammy Terrells.
Wait, and I'm forgetting too, because I'm older than you. I'm some years older than you, because I was well aware of Songs in the Key of Life. Oh, I mean, when I was 16, that thing came out and I was floored. Oh, yeah. And that had been years earlier. So you knew about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is an iconic double record.
I knew who he was.
Okay.
And it was probably one of the most exciting times in my life. It's surreal. Like now, like when I think about him, just like, wow, this is the presence that I was in. He was putting together some Mary Wells tunes and he had me remaking them.
Tell me about that first encounter with him. Was it in the studio or was it somewhere else?
It was in an office.
Because he knew you were young.
It was in an office.
Okay, so you walk into the office and what's it like? Is he sitting in a chair?
He's sitting in a chair and his head is going back and forth. And
listening to music or just he's hanging?
This is the movement. Like just, I guess, no sight, but it's always, it's like a little rock.
Right.
And
you get brought in.
Yeah.
And what happened?
And I was stuck. I didn't quite know what to say. I listened a lot. And,
what do you remember? Anything that he said to you?
He said,
because I want to say something. We all know Stevie has produced almost nobody, like very few.
Well,
people.
No, he's done some things with some people,
but it's not like he's doing a ton of producing. Right. Or maybe if he is, we're all not aware of it. Do you know that he's producing? Do you know Aretha announced her retirement? Aretha Franklin announced her retirement. He is producing her last record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's written a lot of things for a lot of people. He's written for countless people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm still blown away. All right. So keep going.
I mean, nothing ever came of the songs. The project got
Was it, so it was his original song?
No, it was Mary Wells.
Oh, that's right. You're saying, but he just produced it.
Yeah, he was.
Do you remember anything about, not to stay so stuck on this, but. That's why the name
Little Toni Marsh came into play, because he used to be Little Stevie Wonder.
Oh, did he name you?
Well, no, it was just kind of like a theme.
Yeah.
Like,
but do you remember anything about, I'm sorry to stay on this, but I got to. I mean, this guy, like, did anything he said to you or what you learned from him?
I got to sing with him on stage at the Circle Star.
Wow. Amazing.
I got to do the live performance with him.
Jeez, of your songs?
No, we did Ebony and Ivory.
Come on. And you were a duet, you mean?
A duet with Stevie.
I thought you were thinking background vocals. No, you duet. You did duet with him.
He let me sing a little piece.
Oh, okay.
So that's the best part of it.
You know, it killed me when I watched George Michael singing. What was it? I was going to say, Don't Let the Sun Go on Me. He did that with Elton John. He sang, Oh, Love's in Need of Love Today with Stevie on some show. And I was just, but I was also so ridiculously, like, I could sing jealous, like, damn, if that should have been me singing up there.
That should have been me.
I mean, my God. All right. So nothing happens. And then what happens with your career after that?
Well, nothing happens with that project. It just kind of fizzled out. And then I come back to New York.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, what, 16, 17?
I'm about 17.
Okay.
I attend high school at Julie Richmond, Talent Unlimited program. And I happened to go with one of my aunts to an audition for this new artist, Lisa.
Okay.
But I go with her just to accompany her.
Yeah.
She's actually doing the auditioning. So I go to this audition. I'm 17. There's a bunch of singers at SIR. And this is when New York had a 52nd Street SIR.
Yeah, and that's where you can get equipment and have rehearsal space, that whole thing.
And you can showcase there as well.
Okay.
Like some of the bigger studios.
Oh, nice. They have all stage setup thing. Yeah. Okay.
So I go to this audition and it's the end of the night. Everyone has auditioned.
Yeah.
And so, my aunt says, well, why don't you go ahead and audition? I'm like, okay. She's like, it's the end of the night. Can't hurt. I go in there, and this is when you can smoke indoors. I got a cigarette. I'm 17. Cigarette, my cap on backwards. I walk in, and Lisa's standing there in full force, and they're talking because it's the end of the auditions, and they're not really paying attention.
Right.
And I walk in, and Alex Mosley, who is Spanador, is playing piano, and he's like, what do you want to sing? And I'm like, Through the Fire. Shaka Khan, who's my favorite.
Okay.
And I remember I start singing. Now, everyone's kind of talking by the sofas, and I start singing, and I can slowly see everyone kind of looking up, and they're looking at me because I'm looking kind of tough.
Right.
They can't believe this sound is coming out of my mouth. So they're all just kind of staring, and I put my cigarette out, and I say thank you, and I walk out.
Yeah, like real badass guy.
Badass. And so I go to, as I had these stairs to the bathroom, and I go up to the top of the stairs, and I just kind of sit at the top of the stairs. And I remember Lisa comes out of the room, and she looks at me and she says, are you Toni? And I said, yeah. She says, I can't officially say this, but welcome to the band.
Oh.
And it changed my life because I was only in the 11th grade.
Yeah.
So I remember going to school the next day going, I'm out of here. And my teacher, Mrs. Lieberman, she was my music teacher, and she was like, you have another year. Yeah. You can't quit. I won't let you know.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, yeah, Mom.
And so you did? You dropped out of high school?
I left.
And
it changed my life. I went on tour.
And did you record first, or you just went on tour? Did you do both? Were you recording with her too?
I did some recording later, but those first songs were already done.
And I've seen some stuff on YouTube with that where you all are dressed. I mean, it's 80s and 90s to the hilt, and the choreography, you're doing the dancing. I mean,
it was the best time in my life. It changed my life because it took me. I mean, I'd never really left New York outside of going to California to work with Stevie. So like, I'd never left the country.
Where'd you tour? Like internationally?
Oh yeah.
So everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Wow.
Everywhere. My first gig with her was Hawaii. And then from Hawaii,
a kid from the projects now singing in Hawaii.
17.
Yeah.
From Hawaii to Japan.
Whoa.
So I had never left the country. And that was a big, big change for me.
Did you get chance to really hang in these countries and see, or were you just constantly on the go?
I was constantly on the go.
But still.
I was a little bit of a knucklehead. You know,
I caused some trouble.
I got all of a sudden, I had a little bit of money and a little bit of, now I'm on Soul Train and Arsenio Hall and Joan Rivers, and I'm on all these television.
Did it kind of go to your head? Is that what you're saying? How did it manifest that way? What did you do?
I was just young and stupid,
attitude?
I
think there's some stories.
Drank a lot of booze, smoked a lot of weed.
Here we go.
Popped some pills. I was a bit of an idiot.
You partied pretty hard.
I partied very hard. And I'm here to tell about it. So that's the good thing. It's a lot of people that went that path, but no one ever told me, when you're coming from, a place where you've never had these things and all of a sudden you have them.
Yeah.
There's no way to prepare you for it when you get it. It's, and you think it's going to last forever. It's like, it comes.
Oh, that's right. At that age, it's like, and now I'm going to be discovered. I'll be a solo artist. This is never stopping. You have all these delusions in your mind about where this is going. Very typical stuff.
And even more than my own record deal, because my own record deal had me local. I was doing shows at the Roxy and 1018 and the clubs in New York, and maybe going to Philly, maybe doing stuff.
This is after or during? No,
this is before. When I 14, I had my first record deal, and then I did the Stevie thing. That didn't really take me anywhere because it never really panned out.
Yeah.
Now I'm with Lisa, and
it's happening.
Yeah,
and she had some really big hits, right?
Huge hits.
Huge, yeah. Dance hits mostly, right?
No, All Cried Out is one of the biggest ballads around. So yeah, All Cried Out, Lost in Emotion, Head to Toe. I Wonder If I Take You Home was the first hit. Let the Beat Hit 'Em Later.
Wow, so you're there at the total peak of this thing.
Yeah.
Wow, so how long did that last?
We're going to Hawaii in May. We just did Radio City last month.
Wow.
So 34 years.
Wow. But you haven't been with it nonstop, right?
In and out, as long as she's working, I'm working.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I've been with her a long, long time. I grew up in that band. Now I'm kind of like the MD, so to speak.
Oh, are you the MD?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I just put a band together. We're doing Joe's Pub on April 8th, here in New York City. And it's going to be the first band performance in years. I just put the band together for her.
Oh, for her. Oh, okay.
For
Got
Lisa.
It. Wow. So what else? So after you're doing all of this with her and you said you're partying really hard, what's the next step? Was there some big, really bad, fall or anything? Did anything this happen?
What happened was, you go on tour. I got fired twice.
Why? Or will you share that?
Being an asshole.
Okay.
Just being young, had some conflicts with other band members. And I learned pretty quickly that, people want to work with somebody who's workable, who's easy to work with.
See, this is interesting that you're telling me this because I really would not know this. You are one of the most humble, major lead singer, producer, writer, person I know, unusual for a singer of your level. And so I wouldn't have known that. So how did you get, what happened? I guess it's from being fired a couple times.
Well, I got fired a couple of times and, I learned very quickly that,
it doesn't matter what your level of talent is, right? If you're an asshole,
nobody gives a shit.
You're difficult.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. You can, everybody has an ego.
And you have to be a performer.
Sure. And there's a difference between being cocky and being confident. And I learned that no one wants to work with an asshole. It wasn't only the ego, less ego, more party. It was just, I was out of control. It was hard to keep your finger on me. I was just moving around and doing too much.
Yeah.
But, as the years went by, I got smarter. It's just like, this is not cool. You have all these ideas about what fame and money is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's not that. There's nothing cool or sexy about burning out at 27. I don't know who invented that 27 club, all the people that died at 27 from burning out. It's not cool. It's not rock starish and it's not cool.
You know, I think about that to get, I think for us, you know, boy or girl at this young age, to get what we think that we deserve is a problem right there.
Right.
You know, like for me personally, I mean, things have been great, but I've had regular moments where I'm just not getting what I think I want, which has humbled me a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually get it,
Mm-hmm.
which you and people like that talk about, because, you know, I think maybe the rest of us think, oh, come on, you're doing the dream, you're singing, you're making money, you're traveling, you're meeting people, you know, all this incredible stuff. Why would you, you know, dive into drugs and alcohol and be depressed? I mean,
because because none of that stuff creates happiness, and you don't know who's your friend for real, who's on your side for real, you know, that level, you know, and that's me being a backup singer and having this attention.
Not even being, you know, the star.
Imagine being the star and having that kind of attention constantly and getting what you want. I mean, you don't have, I didn't have to buy drugs. It was available, readily available to me always, you know? And so these are the things that people don't understand. You know, it starts off where you feel like, you know, hey, this is great. And then after a while, you just don't know. Everybody's got their hand in. Everybody, you know, wants to have. I blew so much money on friends and bullshit and buying people, you know, gifts and cars and just ridiculous. If I knew now, knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting nice.
Yes, bank.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was foolish and nobody told me. And why would they? I mean, if they can keep putting their hand in your pocket, why would they stop you?
Wow. So after, at this point in your life, you know, again, the hits and everything, I mean, again, I know you from having, just being a singer who does a lot of different things. You have, and do you still have this band Project Orange?
Yes.
Which does, it's, you know, events basically, yes. Right? Corporate parties and weddings and everything.
And I, you know, I went through the business, you know, I started it about 12 years ago now. Mm-hmm. It went through some changes, you know, the people have come and gone and, you know, it had its ups and its downs, but I'm still here. Mm-hmm. I have what I like to call a boutique clientele, people that really, really love Project Orange and
love you.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I've become the face of Project Orange. Mm-hmm. And I give it my heart. I think that events like weddings and bar mitzvahs, I think those things are very important because they're personal to the client. Probably more important than a gig that I would do at Radio City with Lisa, because, and not saying that that's not important, but people are coming to buy tickets to see a concert.
Yeah. When
you're doing someone's wedding, you're playing for a memory that they're going to have for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're going to look back at that video and they're going to remember that moment, or they're going to think back to that night. And music is such an extraordinarily important part of that. Mm-hmm. So for me, I take it really serious. I take it to heart.
But did you smoothly, easily go into that? I mean, what about going from this national act stardom situation? Was it hard at first to do, you know, cover music, or was it no big deal for you? Was there a transition here to learn this, to get this gratitude that you have and understanding of what a beautiful, important part of other people's lives you are? Was that just easy for you, or?
Well, I won't say that it was totally easy for me, but what I will say is this. I'm very observant, and I watch so many people burn out because they had that success, they had that taste that I had. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, everything that goes up comes down, you know, especially if you don't manage it right, you don't manage your money right. And then people get super depressed, and that's where the real drug abuse and the self-destruction starts to happen, because you had that taste and you wanted to get.
Yeah.
What I've learned to do is understand that success doesn't just mean being on television. Success means doing what you love and making a living at it. And I do that at this level. So I'm successful as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I got a record deal or a television deal, that'd be a cherry on it. But I make a living at making music, and that's successful. Like, I wake up and I do what I love. I don't go to somebody's office, sit behind a desk for a boss I hate.
Mm-hmm.
I do what I love to do.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to gauge your success where you are, and understand that music is very important at all levels.
Yes.
Whether you're singing in a bar for 5 people or whether you're singing in a stadium for, 5,000 people. It's all relative.
Yeah, and I agree. And I do feel that no matter what the situation, we can be impactful on people's lives, whether it's facilitating a celebration or inspiring people,
Right.
I mean, even myself, I've done this forever. I've seen every national act. I've done everything I think you can do with a cover dance band situation. And really bringing it back to you, when I was sitting at the Groove watching you do that, I was hugely inspired. It doesn't even end necessarily at any point. The music is so powerful, and also how you were working the crowd and all of that. It's almost like I get a chance to rediscover music.
I love it.
Yeah. So what about this other act I read about, So Disrespectful? What is that?
Well, So Disrespectful is the club version of Project Orange.
Okay.
So it's the dress.
More edgy?
It's the alter ego.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot more edgy.
Like how so? Can you share?
Yeah,
just the look you're talking about, and the songs.
And we're pretty raw, It's not a PG-13 show.
Oh, I'm coming out to this.
We talk mess, and but I worked. So I transitioned from that other world to doing weddings for other agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Here in New York, I worked for most of the big companies, and I watched them kind of, and I got inspired by you because you honestly were the first boutique kind of thing that I saw. You had the same players. You cared about the organization of your band and the sound. I worked for a lot of these companies, and it was kind of like chop shop. They just call some guy in. To me, music is like food. If you throw a bunch of random ingredients in, you might get potluck. But if it's a calculated decision on what you're going to add to that, if you put the best ingredients
I like how you're
in,
saying this. Yes,
you're going to get the best product. And I felt like I was working for these agencies, and I was on a stage with a singer that I never sang with before, and a keyboard player I never played with before, and everybody was just kind of doing the individual thing.
Just get a check and leave.
Yeah, and they played like that. I felt bad for the clients. I would be kind of like, wow, if I was paying this kind of money for this chop shop kind of mentality, of a band, and people, people hear with their eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
The average person hears with their eyes. So as long as you're jumping around, people think it sounds good.
You're making a really interesting point here. I think people, the public, and how would they know? But they don't really know the subtle stuff that goes on behind the scenes, where if they had the different situation, the party can go real well. It could be a fun concert. But if they have this love that's put into it and all,
it's like
it's a whole nother level.
It's like if I feed you chicken every day and you're hungry, you're going to eat it.
Yeah, right.
And then I give you a nice piece of prime rib and you're
I
like,
love your analogy.
Wow, this is amazing. Yeah. And that's the difference between a Sound Connection and a Project Orange and every other band.
Yeah.
You don't know it until you get it. And then you're like, wow, that is it right there.
Yeah.
And that's, I got tired of working for these companies and feeling kind of embarrassed, like not wanting my name connected to them. Like, a client would come up and be like, oh, you were great. What's your name? And I'm just like, Toni, no last name with it. Cause I don't want to be affiliated. I don't want to be affiliated with this.
Yeah.
And so the birth of Project Orange happened. I was like, I can do this better. I know better players. I can make this really what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and you've got players in that band. I mean, when I saw Project Orange, for example, the keyboardist who had been with, what was it, Kool and the Gang or something like that?
Oh, no. Well,
a ton of people, actually.
No, this Brockett Parsons, he is Lady Gaga's keyboard player.
Yeah. So you've got heavy people. Yeah. And again, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people do know. Some people don't know. When you're coming up to the mic, you're bringing, this experience, with those first two hits you had as a 14-year-old, the experience with Stevie Wonder, the experience with Lisa, on and on and on and on and on, which I think is what makes such a huge difference. Now, also, clearly, Toni, I mean, you've got a lot to offer, a lot people can learn from. And from what I understand, you now have formed, in addition to this, like a consulting company. Is it Mengage Works? Do I have that right?
Yes, Mengage Works. What I've decided to do was share my knowledge, these 30 some odd years of experience on stage and being signed and behind a mic and recording. There's a lot of people who want to sing, and they think that singing is all that there is. Mm-hmm. There's more to a performance than just singing. It's being able to read a room, knowing what to sing, knowing, when to sing it, how to use a microphone, how to work a stage.
Yeah.
So, there's so many levels
all these subtleties,
to it.
All these details.
How to dress, how to feel sexy. You got to feel sexy and so you can perform. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that comes with singing. So a lot of times I would go to open mics and people would ask me or inbox me on Facebook. And, I know you've done this. What am I doing? What can I do? So I just decided to make it a formal thing where you can call me. You can get, some advice. You can get some grooming. I bring dance consultants in, teach you movement.
So you'll bring other experts in too.
Sure, absolutely.
So you could really offer, it sounds to me like, pretty much anything that a singer needs.
Sure.
In there. So it's customized, obviously, for them to be able to hone whatever skills they need to go to the next level.
Right.
And it's really the whole package.
There was a time where, record producers would call me in for artists that was signed, like say to Sony, to help them record. Because a lot of these kids that they sign have never been in a recording studio. So it would eat up their money, before they could cut and paste.
Right. Because
they'd be trying to get, a couple of songs recorded and it just wouldn't be happening. So I'd, go in sometimes 2, 3 in the morning and coach.
I think you're providing such a great service because, I mean, as you know, when we both were growing up, artist development was a big deal with the labels.
Big deal.
I mean, I think Whitney Houston, when she got signed to Arista, Clive Davis worked with her and the team for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually know who was her vocal coach at the time, Professor Bill Riley. And, it was some years of development. And today,
the record companies cared. Like they groomed you. They got a team together for your look. They got, there was a point where, I was signed to MCA at one time. I had a record out called I Want Your Guy, produced by the same guys, Terrible 2 Productions, Freddie McFarlane, God bless him, he's gone. Produced somebody else's guy for Jocelyn Brown.
Yeah.
And they sent me to, someone to teach me how to speak, how to interview.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. You know?
Well, and these shows, I won't name any particular, but all these contest shows where I feel like kids today think that they could come with some raw talent, be discovered, become overnight stars.
Right.
And that it can happen, but it's so rare.
Let me tell you something. And this is what I tell my students. The Michael Jacksons, the Beyoncés, they're a very, very, very small percentage of this industry. And the chances that you'll be that are slim to none. I'm not saying don't reach for it. I'm saying learn how to gauge your success where you are. Don't be disappointed if that's the problem. People have one goal in mind.
Yeah, just superstardom.
And there's so many levels.
There's so much in between.
There's so many levels of music. There's jingles. Think about this. If you were watching a movie, right? And there was a murder scene, right?
Yeah.
The guy standing by the closet and the murderer's in the closet and the door's cracked and there was no music, that scene would not be powerful.
Yeah.
It's the music that makes that scene powerful. So there's music on every level. There's music in your elevator. There's music when you call a service and they put you on hold. What I tell my clients for their cocktail hour when they're worried about what we're going to play, I say to them, the music for the cocktail hour is to fill up the room while everyone is socializing for the main event.
Yes.
You would notice if it wasn't there.
Yes.
But you're really not noticing it while it's there.
Yeah.
So don't micromanage the cocktail hour music. It's not as important as the main event music.
Though on the other hand, I tell people it's a transition from the ceremony to the reception.
Right.
People are starting to drink.
Right.
And so there's this powerful undertone, but leave that, not, of course, if you have requests, fine, but leave it to us. Yeah. We understand. We're creating a vibe and we're getting them all excited in a subtle way.
Exactly.
So
I say all that to say that there's music at every level. And you can be successful at it without being Beyonce.
See, and that's, you make such a good point. And tying this into today's music business, everybody talks about artists, producers, the public, radio, everyone. It's like, oh my God, the music business. It's like, what are we all going to do? What's happening? Where's the path? It's just not clear. Not that it was easy before, but it's like the benefit on the other side is that there are so many other channels, so many other possibilities. And I do think that kids especially, they think it's only about being a star. And you could have, and again, even the odds of maybe not being a superstar, but even being a star are so damn slim.
So slim.
You can make good money.
Right.
Let's put it this way, right? People, can make a lot of money doing other things in the music business, but at a minimum, people can have a music in the arts. They can have a life that pays the bills.
Sure.
Maybe they don't have a Rolls Royce, but they can pay the bills and live full-time music.
I have musicians who play at night and teach music during the day. So like I said, it's really your attitude about it. How you approach things. And this is not something I learned overnight. Like I said, I was a knucklehead. In my late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
So this was an evolution for me to just kind of like still be here and survive my own stupidity.
Yeah.
And to have just observed and learned some things and decided that, you know what? If I want music, if I want to be, because it's not an easy business. If you think it's easy, it's not easy. You got to love it. I have friends that I went to school who study music with me that have other careers now, and they come and they see me and they're like, wow, you're still doing this, Toni. Wow.
Right.
All these years later. So there's a definite commitment and connection to really doing this. There were days when I rolled my own cigarettes and ate ramen noodles, and mayonnaise sandwiches. Like it got serious.
Yeah.
And then there's days when I've stayed at, the best hotels.
Right.
And I'm looking out my window and all I see is ocean. And I'm like, it's levels.
Yeah, and
listen, I went to the White House. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, this is a little girl from the projects.
Yeah.
Who came from all this chaos.
Yeah.
And the places that I've been, it's a blessing. I'm fortunate. And I don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
And I share that with, I have a team of young musicians who work with me now. I don't like to say work for me. They work with me. And they're learning. And I'm tough. I'm not easy to work for. I'm the B word for sure.
That. My best growth has come from people, beating on me.
Yeah. And I had the right people smack me around too. Like, smarten up.
I'm grateful. I have that now too. I always have some kind of a mentor. And one of the last things I want to say too is that people got to invest in themselves. That's the other thing.
Right.
It's like any other business.
Right. You got to put money into it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be scared. What I did was I worked for all these wedding agencies. I saved my money. I shot a great video. It's not immediate gratification. It's not an immediate reward. For like a year or two, I waited for those gigs to come. You have to build up a reputation. You got to get people to, you got to be visible. And people got to get to know you and you got to be great at what you do because that word of mouth means more than an ad that you put up.
Well, and I'm sure, of course, you're also helping people with how to conduct themselves from the business perspective and how to deal with people and keep that ego in check.
Absolutely.
Turn it on when you're on stage.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, I would say that's like 60%.
That's more than
gotta have
the
talent, but
it's more than that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you straight up, I'm a girl from the hood. I can be hood. I can go back to the hood and fall right back into that. But when it's time to take care of business, I got my business hat on, and I represent myself the way I want people to see me. Mm-hmm. You only get one shot at the first impression.
Oh yeah.
So you be very careful on how you approach things. If you want people to respect you, you have to be, poised and respectful and professional.
Yep. So how can people reach you? I mean, all these various projects, what are some of the ways to reach you? Websites and just how to contact you?
Mengageworks.com is the grooming website.
How do you spell that?
Menage, MENAGEWORKS, okay. Mengageworks.com. You can...
That's the consulting arm you said,
that's
right?
That's the consulting business. Project Orange Music is the event band.
Right.
And we got a pretty cool site up there.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll put all of this in the show notes. So we'll get all your social media and everything, how people can reach you. Yeah. And I urge anyone who wants to develop in any way as a performer, singer, but all of it, to come see you. Well, Toni, wow, what a blast. I can't wait. I know we're going to work together again. I mean, we do it periodically. So somewhere along the line, we're going to get you back on stage with us too.
Yeah. I love it. And I gotta say that I admire you and respect you so much. I see what you do with your bands. I've experienced it. I've had the pleasure to work with you, and I definitely take a page out of your book.
Thank you for catching another episode of The Music Makers. I am Andy Kushner and would really appreciate if you can help build our community by sharing it with friends and fellow musicians and music lovers. Also, a great review would really help the show, and we'll catch you next time on The Music Makers.